The following presentation was made possible by the Alltech Media Group, a Southern California multimedia company providing exponential branding and marketing services to all their clients. The Alltech Media Group understands the value of the 3W strategy, providing their clients proven, trackable results. Let us make it easy for you to grow your business. Visit alltechmedia.com.
As part of its efforts to engage government and business on key issues in the region, the Chamber is pleased to welcome the congressional candidates for District 41, an opportunity to discuss their ideas on the challenges that face our regional economy. Congressman Mark Takano graduated from La Sierra High School in 1979 as the class valedictorian. He went on to attend Harvard College and obtain a bachelor's degree in government in 1983. After teaching in the Boston area, he returned to Riverside and obtained his secondary teaching credential in language arts and social studies at the University of California, Riverside. In 1988, he began teaching in the Rialto Unified School District. Before being elected to Congress in 2012, he served 12 years on the Board of Trustees for Riverside Community College District. And Councilmember Steve Adams joined the Corona Police Department in May of 1971. And then transferred to the Riverside Police Department in April of 1972. He served on the gang task force and Metro SWAT teams until he sustained injuries in the line of duty. After retiring from the police department, he started and ran numerous companies ranging from international sales to financial consulting, and he remained active in finance until he was elected to the City Council in 2004, where he is now serving his third term. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the 41st District Congressional candidates, Congressman Mark Takano and Councilmember Steve Adams. Welcome, gentlemen. Before we begin, I would like to go over the format for this morning. Each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes for opening comments, followed by a question and answer session, and then 2 minutes for closing comments. To help our candidates keep on track, they will be given a yellow signal in front of the stage when they have 30 seconds of time remaining. A red signal will be given to the candidates when their time is up. And audience, out of respect for our candidates today and their need to have the opportunity to comment, please hold your applause until the end of our session. Let's begin our opening statements, and Congressman Takano, please begin.
Well, good morning. I'd like to thank the Chamber and UCR for hosting this forum. And I remember this breakfast from 2 years ago and look forward to having another great discussion with you today. I am Mark Takano, and I am your member of Congress, and I'm here today for my very first employee review. I've enjoyed a productive relationship with the Chamber. My door has been open to you. I've visited more than 100 businesses over the past 2 years to hear directly from local entrepreneurs about the challenges and opportunities they encounter here in the Inland Empire. I'm proud to have been part of the bipartisan majority that passed this year's Workforce Investment Act that was a priority for this chamber. You know that as a former high school teacher, I am dedicated to improving education and workforce training. And passing the Workforce Investment Act for the first time in 10 years was a major step forward. I was also proud to have worked closely with Colonel Muncie and the leadership at March Air Reserve Base. We helped bring the new MQ-9 Reaper to March, which will help keep our base an integral part of the nation's defense infrastructure. March is an economic engine for the Inland Empire, and preserving its mission is a top priority of mine. This summer, I participated in the conference committee charged with reconciling a bill to address the problems at the Veterans Administration's health programs. The final bipartisan bill includes language that I added to create 1,500 new graduate medical school education positions around the country. We're now working to bring some of these GME slots to the Inland Empire so that they will be available for students at the UCR Medical School. My office has been focused like a laser on the needs of our district, And I look forward to the discussion we're going to have this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Takano. Councilmember Adams, please begin your opening comments.
First of all, also, good morning, everybody. And I thank you to the Chamber and thank you to UCR for allowing us to come before you. And you can then, like you said, evaluate us as possible future employees. As you said, I spent 15 years on the Riverside Police Department and 11 years on the Riverside City Council. That's 26 years of service to the people here. As a police officer and a city councilman, I am apolitical, and I represent all of the people. In between that, I have 31 years as a small business owner. The issues confronting our region are stalled economy, job-killing administration, an open border, education needs improvement, public safety is the number one issue promised and made by government. I have an expertise in public safety. I understand small business and what government does and how it affects small business. I understand the issues of a city and a region. We transformed the city of Riverside over the last 11 years, making it competitive with Orange County, LA County, San Diego County, and all of California, because we're not bringing jobs from outside of California here. They're leaving here because of bad management. As a result of that, we were named the #1 job creator in the nation, highest paying new jobs in the nation, first Emerald City, smartest city. We're putting people back to work. We're doing it in a regional approach because we have to. We have to be competitive. So I've formed the Regional Economic Development Group that is made up of one elected from every city and their staff. We meet, we work on the issues, we now market the Inland Empire as one so that we're competitive. We have exponentially grown our potential and our efforts. I want to continue this fight for us to Washington, D.C., and I will not represent a party in Washington to you. I will take our fight to Washington, D.C. and get results. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. At this time, the candidates will answer questions composed by the Chamber, and during the session, we will alternate between each of you to answer the questions. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to complete a statement. And again, candidates, you'll be given a yellow signal in front of the stage when you have 30 seconds remaining, and when your time is up, you'll be giving a red signal. And we will begin with Congressman Takano for our first question. In 2012, Congress passed and President Obama signed into law a new transportation bill called Moving Ahead for Progress in the 21st Century, also referred to as MAP 21. This bill authorized federal transportation construction programs for only 2 years. With depleted reserves for transportation funds, coupled with dwindling revenue from the gas tax and the Highway Trust Fund, where do you see the federal government finding a sustainable revenue source for transportation and infrastructure once MAP 21 expires next year?
Well, thank you for that question. The pay for is the big hitch in trying to pass a 5-year transportation bill. The reason for that is because the gas taxes simply are not adequate, given that our cars are more fuel efficient. Some ideas that are out there are to tax cars based on the miles driven, but there's some problems with some of the privacy issues associated with trying to make that work. There's also a proposal to reshore the capital of corporate earnings and welcome that back in the country and have some of that money be devoted to the transportation bill. So I'd hope that we would be able to work this out in the lame duck session in the next couple of months after the election, but the Congress chose to punt that until the spring of next year. It's hopeful, and we did get WIA, the Workforce Investment Act, done. We did pass the budget for the first time last year. I'm hopeful that we can get this bill done, the pay-for is done next spring, because this bill means a lot for the Inland Empire. We have already 80 bridges that are in functional disrepair, and that it will create many new construction jobs and really be an engine for economic development in our community.
Thank you, Congressman Takano. Same question to you, Mr. Councilman Adams.
Thank you. Well, a nation's strength and economy runs exclusively on its ability to move equipment, goods, and people efficiently and economically. And our infrastructure is dying. It's in bad shape. Now, when President Obama was elected, and before he was sworn in, I was flown back to meet with him and his transition team to talk about the first stimulus package. And what was that going to be? $750 billion for infrastructure. And if you recall, he cut that down to $50 billion, took $8 billion out for the train to nowhere, and we still haven't spent the $42 billion left, and that doesn't even cover California's needs, much less all 50 states. I've been working for the last 11 years on programs to solve the congestion and negative impact of the goods movement to our region. We are the most negatively impacted in the nation. We are looking at Operation Free Flow, which is on my website at City Hall, and it's to remove the trucks during the day off of the freeway and put them on at night, 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. That doubles our capacity on our freeway. We didn't have to use a penny of tax, and the trucking industry and the ports and the railroad support it. Second is a container fee collected by the ports on a non-for-profit basis. We qualify for a segment of that. We would not have to use our taxes to work on mitigate the negative impact of the goods movement through our region. We can turn this negative into a positive and help us grow by bringing manufacturing jobs here. Transportation is the #1 issue that confronts not only our region, but this nation. And I've been working on it since I've been here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Adams. We'll now take the next question to you. If elected, how will you support increasing graduate medical education opportunities to train more physicians and healthcare professionals in the region?
That's a great question, and that was part of the transition of this region. Our economy was home building and agriculture. They're cyclical and they're gone. So we wanted to bring in high-tech manufacturing and the medical school. I think the medical campus in Moreno Valley will be a huge asset to us. The continued growth of the medical school as it augments our different hospitals. We don't have a specific medical center, so we're utilizing all the different hospitals throughout the region, and that is a benefit to all of us. The other thing is, and like I said earlier, the transformation of our region. We want these doctors that come here to train, to get their licenses, to stay here. We don't want them to leave. The county of Riverside and the city of Riverside and the other cities are looking at alternatives of if we have a specialty need, and that doctor will sign a contract to stay here for 8 years, we will pay their tuition. Our incentives are to keep those doctors that train here. Those are high-paying jobs that go 365 days a year. There are no cycle. They create middle-paying jobs, and they create entry-level jobs. That's what we need to do, is continue to grow the medical school, support it. We fought for several years, several people in this room, to bring that here. It's going to bring about $1 billion a year in revenue, and it will be an ongoing gift throughout forever for the city of Riverside. So I'm proud to work on that team. I'm proud to bring that school here.
Thank you, Councilman Adams. Congressman Takano, same question, please.
Yeah, well, briefly, I just want to go back to transportation. It's the first time I've heard a Republican candidate criticize the president for cutting the stimulus. What I want to address, I want to say that I've worked really hard to bring graduate medical school education slots back to the Inland Empire. When I got to Congress, it was one of the first asks of this chamber. It was a hard, that 90% of the GMEs are funded by Medicare and Medicaid. They've been frozen since 1996, and that's part of the reason why we have such a shortage of doctors. 10% of graduate medical education slots are funded by the VA. I was fortunate enough to land a spot in the VA, and unfortunately we did have a crisis that occurred with wait lists in Phoenix. But one of the solutions to that was to increase the number of doctors, and I argued that despite having access to non-VA care, the veterans in our region would have to go to the private sector and face wait lists there. It's great that Loma Linda would be able to hire more doctors under this new VA bill, but in an overall shortage of doctors, how are we going to compete to keep them here? So I argued I championed a bill for 2,000 more graduate medical education slots. It got put in the bill in a bipartisan way and was voted out of committee and into the floor of each house and passed unanimously. I'm happy to say that we have now 1,500 more graduate medical education slots where we were in a position of having a frozen budget in the other Medicare and Medicaid. I'm very pleased that we have now an opportunity to get 1,500, well, some of the 1,500 here in California.
Thank you, Congressman Takano, and we'll return to you now for the third question. With significant discussion to raise minimum wage in cities like Los Angeles and Seattle, plus the recent passage of AB 10 in California to raise the state minimum wage over the next 2 years, What is your position on the issue, and how do you anticipate overcoming any challenges it may cause for local businesses?
Well, I believe that no person who works in America full-time should ever live in poverty. It's important to remember that 50% of minimum wage workers are 25 years or older. They're not teenagers. 62% of minimum wage workers are women. Now, it's important also to remember that California's minimum wage is already scheduled in law to rise to $10 by 2016. The proposals that in the Congress are to raise the minimum wage to $10.10. If you're a Californian, you should be wanting the federal government to pass a federal minimum wage across the nation up to nearly, well, actually slightly above what California has raised it to. It makes sense. We live in a consumer economy. Low-income folks need to spend the money that they bring in. It will have a stimulative effect on the economy generally, and that's why the minimum wage makes sense for America.
Thank you, Congressman Takano. Councilman Adams, same question, please.
All right. First, I'd like to make one correction. Congressman Takano said that the president cut the stimulus. He did not. He doubled it. He just took the money away from job-creating transportation needs that this country desperately needed and paid off campaign debt. So that's one correction I'd like to make. Minimum wage. How many people in this room own a business? How many people in this room think one more tax will help your business? How many people think bigger government, larger government, more regulation is going to help your business? How many are just barely above water because of the economy that's going on right now? How many of you business owners who signed the front of a check have had that time when you paid your employees but not yourself for weeks or months and no light at the end of the tunnel? And then you wait for the government to come and raise the minimum wage on your employees, and that means you're going to have to cut jobs. This is a bad idea. The people that are hurt most are seniors on fixed incomes. They will never see that improvement, but the cost of goods go up when the cost of doing business goes up. Cost of service goes up. It has a negative impact. Let the free market do its job. Go to North Dakota. Their minimum wage is not in a rule book. It's $15 because the economy there is so good. They have a 1 or 2% unemployment. That's what we need to be seeking, jobs for our young people. The reason you're 27, 28, 29 years old entering your first job because there are no jobs for you now when you get out of school. We need to bring back the jobs. We need to shrink the government. We need to cut the taxes and put America back to work.
Thank you, Councilman Adams.
That was about right.
Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Thank you, Councilman Adams. The next question goes to you. Our local military installations, March Air Reserve Base and the Naval Service Warfare Center in Norco, contribute more than $800 million in economic activity to the region. But another round of base realignment and closure, BRAC, commissions is expected in 2015. What actions would you take to bring more reserve and active duty units to these installations to increase their strategic value for the national defense? Councilman Adams.
Sorry. I had the good fortune of working with Congressman Calvert and the Chamber and all the cities in this region to fight the last time we came up with the BRAC March in the Naval College, and we were able to succeed. It's going to take putting all of us together, doing that again. It is an integral part of our region. It's one of the largest payrolls. I think $500 million a year impact on our area. If I want security for my nation, I'd sure like to have it in my own backyard. It is essential, like the program that Mr. Takano spoke about earlier, that King Calvert had worked on years to keep here, and it came in while you were here. So that's a Calvert project, and you did help with it, so I appreciate that. We have to save the March Air Reserve Base and what it means to this region and what it means to this nation. We have to save the Naval War College for the exact same reasons. It employs people. It makes our nation safe. We have seen this administration weaken our military. And a weak America makes a very unsafe world. And we need to do all that we can to support our troops, support our veterans, save this base, and save the Naval War College.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. Congressman Takano, same question, please.
Well, thank you. Well, I've already demonstrated the focus on preserving the mission at March Air Reserve Base. By working with Congressman Calvert and Congressman Cook to secure prioritization of the delivery of MQ-9s. That legislation that was inserted into the National Defense Authorization Act could not have happened without the member who represents this district. I simply would not have considered passing any kind of amendment without the member who represents the base. And I fully put my support behind the delivery of these MQ-9s. I was pleased just a couple months ago to be up in Victorville to welcome the delivery of these planes. They're housed up in Victorville and operated by the training school, the training mission at March, the 163rd Reconnaissance Wing. Now we can turn our attention to the procurement of the KC-46, which is a much, much bigger project. We are now undergoing evaluation of why March didn't score so well in the last competition for the KC-46, and looking to position March for a better performance in the next competition. I'm happy to see that there's some infrastructure upgrades, a brand new tower that's been installed at the base, and I've been working with the water district to upgrade some of the facilities with water. I'm looking forward very much to supporting the mission at March as it's an economic engine for the region.
Thank you, Congressman Takano. And we'll come back to you with the next question. Some forecasts and economic experts contend that California's economy is returning to prosperity. But the inland Southern California region continues to struggle and lag behind other parts of the state in terms of economic growth. What are your specific job creation goals for the region in terms of attracting new employers and developing employment opportunities for unemployed workers?
Well, I think we have to do three basic things. We have to improve access to schools, not access to schools, but better training and workforce, better education and workforce training. We need to pass a transportation bill, and we need, I can't underscore this enough, we need to restore basic scientific research at the University of California. The University of California, we're lucky to have such a fine research institution. It is, the basic scientific research often translates into new opportunities for businesses in the tech sector to create new high-tech jobs. I also believe that we have to do something to increase our college-going rate. We have to have more young people who are ready to be ready for the workforce, so college and workforce ready, because we know that great schools and great training opportunities attract great employers.
Thank you, Congressman Takano. Councilman Adams, same question, please.
Right. As I stated earlier, the city of Riverside and our region had to change our industry. So we brought in high tech. We want to be the Silicon Valley of the Inland Empire. We're the other California. And the medical school. We're trying to refurbish our agriculture back into the area, into the jobs. One of the areas that we've fallen short is that, and here's a stat most of you don't know or probably don't know, 70% of the people will never spend 1 minute in a college class. We need to go back to career, vocational training, mentoring, and tutorship to get these people trained so that they at least get that high school degree and then have an opportunity at a job when they get out, not become a ward of the state or the nation. So we need to train our people. We have 3 great universities here, UCR, Cal Baptist, La Sierra University. I serve on the board of School of Business for La Sierra University. We are pooling our assets there and the Riverside Community College District to a business incubator so that we have young entrepreneurs or people that are in business that want to grow their business but need help. They can come to one of our incubators for free. They can help develop their product, help market that product, help raise money, and that's how we're going to bring jobs here. That's how we've been bringing jobs here. We need to downsize the government. We need to restore lower taxes so our businesses can thrive. You aren't hiring more people when we put more taxes and more regulations on you. You're hiring less. Now we have the Affordable Care Act that's kicking in, the employer mandate. Wait until you see what happens with jobs there. Our job market for the last couple of years has been part-time jobs, not full-time jobs. We need to go back to a full-time job America, and we're not going to do it that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. And back to you with the next question. Businesses in the region continue to struggle to find skilled and educated workers to meet their workforce needs. What kind of programs or funding initiatives do you support to provide access to higher education and job skills? It's for you.
Right. Well, like I just said, we need to go back to career vocational training at our schools. We have vocational training colleges and learning institutions here in Riverside. We hope to bring more in various fields, hospitality, construction, automobile mechanics, computers, medical. We've expanded our medical training at UCR, at Cal Baptist, and also at RCC, so that those jobs that are growing here that we can bring here, those people will be prepared to work there. We have programs that I've put on out in my district that in grade school we have College Career Day. We do it then because that's one of the last times you're going to see mom and dad or the grandparents or whoever's the guardian over those children, to teach them how important it is to keep them in school and get an education. We also have Job Day, so we bring people from all types of jobs. There are no bad jobs. Your first job may not be your career that you want to be, but it trains you, prepares you for the next job and the next job until you get there. We have the stigma that that's not a good enough job for me. We have to change that and put people back to work. Government is standing between us and the successful return of America's back to work. We need to downsize the government.
Thank you, Councilmember. Congressman Takano, same question, please.
Again, I want to point to the major accomplishment of passing a bipartisan Workforce Investment Act, which had not been reauthorized in over 10 years, a major accomplishment for the Congress. I've been a long advocate for concurrent enrollment programs at high schools. And what I mean by that, early college. And early college does not mean just college. It also means being able to graduate high school with a career and technical education certification. Our young people, by the time they graduate from high school, need to be college ready or workforce ready. College ready and workforce ready would be great. We can take the existing resource without any new taxes and become much more efficient. Think if we knocked off 2 years of college because students graduated with an AA from the high school. It's possible. Think about the efficiency, think about the way in which we could reduce the allure of often the predatory for-profit college industry, which through heavy marketing lures our low-income folks into unsustainable debt. That's one of the reasons why I'll be authoring the Pro-Student Act to prevent and to rectify the current situation where 13% of the students who are on federal financial aid are generating half the defaults. And these are students at the for-profit colleges. We need to reemphasize and renew our commitment to a vital community college system, which provides affordable transfer education, but also the career and technical certifications that we need for the workforce.
Thank you, Congressman. Next question comes to you, sir. Washington, D.C. has been characterized by intense partisanship and intransigence. Can you give us any examples of where you have worked across the aisle to address a problem?
Well, generating 1,500 new GMEs. I mean, we did not argue about the pay-fors because we all came together on veterans. Members of Congress, care about our veterans, and that bill passed unanimously. That's a huge accomplishment. I reached across the aisle and worked with Congressman Calvert to ensure the mission at March with the delivery of the MQ-9s. We got into law. I was the principal co-sponsor of H.R. 330, the Distinguished Flying Cross National Memorial Act, which is established at the Air Museum. Mr. Calvert, co-sponsor, was not a lead co-sponsor, but still a co-sponsor nonetheless, on the Work Study for Student Veterans Act. And I also work for the Work for Warriors Act, which helps place our National Guardsmen directly into jobs with Congressman Cook. We're establishing that program, the Work for Warriors, which has been very successful and cost-effective at placing our National Guardsmen directly into work, and we're offering up as a national model. I'm very, very proud of the bipartisan work that I've been able to achieve in this term of office.
Thank you, Congressman. Councilmember Adams, same question.
Yes. Well, as I stated earlier, as a city councilman, I'm apolitical. I do not represent a party. I'm appointed to the Riverside County Transportation Commission. I share transportation for the city of Riverside. I was appointed by Senator Dianne Feinstein to serve on her Goods Movement Task Force for the state of California. I am the only elected that was allowed to serve on that. 7.5 years ago, when the Democrats had the House, I was appointed by Democrats Congress to write our first national transportation policy and procedure. Later, when the Republicans took it, I was reappointed. I have been on that for 7 years. In that time, we managed to build some great relationships on both sides of the House, because I'm not a threat at that point. Going back as your next congressman, I will still be able to work with those people, because it's more important we do the job of the people than we do a job for the party. That's got to be our deal. It's called the House of Representatives, not the House of Republican or House of Democrat. It's not called the Washington machine. We need to get back to representing the people, and we've lost that in Washington. Look what's happened. The only promise that President Obama has made is he has fundamentally changed America. Not for the good. Not for the good. We need to restore America, and this is how we're going to do it. We need to make that change. You need to be able to work across the aisle. You need to have moderates, and I don't think grading papers and antagonizing the Republican Party helps build that relationship.
Thank you, Councilmember. Gentlemen, this completes the question and answer segment, and we will now have our candidates give a 2-minute closing statement. And as with our opening statements, you'll be given a yellow signal in front of the stage when 30 seconds remain, and a red signal when your time is up. We will go in reverse order of the opening statements, beginning with Councilmember Adams.
Well, again, thank you all so much for coming out this morning, for giving us the opportunity to present ourselves and our views, for you to see the contrast between Mr. Takano and me. I, again, believe that my 15 years in law enforcement, 31 years as a private business owner, and 11 years working for the City Council uniquely qualifies me to understand the issues that confront our region. I have offered solutions. We brought in thousands of new jobs. I brought in $300 million for grade separations so that we could clean up our air and restore quality of life. We have an actual plan for heavy transportation coming through this area that, if I can get to Congress, we can get implemented and immediately double the capacity on our freeway, clean up our air past 2030, because we have AB 32 here in California, cap and trade. We happen to be the only state in the union dumb enough to do that. It has a negative impact on us, because we don't create the negative air that we get here. It's brought here from elsewhere. But we will pay the price on our utility if we don't find solutions and find them now. Trucks off the freeway worked in '85 when I worked on the 84 Olympics. It'll work now, and I have full buy-in from the stakeholders. We just need to implement the program. Non-for-profit, I've met with all the ports. I've gone to every port in the U.S. I met with them, and they agreed to the non-for-profit container fee in the district or goods movement corridor that they represent. That money would stay there. We would qualify, our cities that are in their trade corridor would qualify for a segment of that money to mitigate the negative impact that has on those cities. Not $1 of tax dollars. We can do it. We can double the freeway, no eminent domain. We don't need 20 plus years. We don't $1.3 billion like what we're doing right now between us and Orange County. We could have done it in a year without spending that $1.3 billion. Our nation could use it for a lot of other things. Education. This state could put some prisons back together. But we have options. But you have to have solutions. They have to be real, and you have to be able to show that you have a solution. Thank you for the opportunity. I hope to get your support. I want to continue the great work that we've started here in Riverside throughout this region. I will fight for you, not for some party. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Congressman Takano, your closing comments, please.
Well, thank you again, Ron, and thank you for the Chamber, and thank you to UCR. Thank you for hosting this forum, and thank you, Steve, for this informative discussion. I look forward to the upcoming UCR debate, where we'll have another opportunity to discuss the important issues facing our district. During this forum, I've had the chance to discuss some of my work in office, some of the work that my office has done on matters that matter most to this chamber. I've worked to preserve the mission at March Air Reserve Base, to pass a new Workforce Investment Act, and to bring nearly $3 million in federal funds and owed benefits back home to the Inland Empire. My office has held briefings for local businesses on grants and was instrumental in protecting the $75 million in funding for the Paris Valley Line. You can learn more about my first term by checking out the annual report that we publish every year on my website. I'm running for a second term because there is so much left to be done. We need to pass a real transportation bill that provides the funding we need to shore up and expand the infrastructure here in the Inland Empire. But we still need to restore funding for basic scientific research. We are fortunate to have a world-class research university at UCR because today's scientific breakthroughs eventually become tomorrow's new business opportunities. We still need to improve our public education system and protect students from predatory for-profit colleges that provide little education and saddle young people with crushing levels of debt. And on my 100 business tours, I listened to you, and I was sad to hear about the opportunistic lawsuits that are happening under the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's on my radar screen. I want you to know that I'm planning to work on that in the next term as well. I'm proud of what I've been able to do during my freshman term. I'm asking for your support as I run for a second. It's been an honor to serve as your member of Congress, and I wish you all a very good day.
Thank you, Congressman Takano. This concludes our time with the candidates this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for our candidates.
Thank you.